is now May, and I think that's official. I failed to get this project done over the winter. Still, I'm committed to revisiting the trip. There are still a few interesting days to talk about yet, so let's talk about day 7. Before even starting the trip, I made very vague guesses as to what the return trip days would look like and browsed a few places on Airbnb. There are plenty of places in the Silverthorne, Colorado area for 20 or 30 bucks, but while I was in San Diego looking to actually make those reservations, all those places I found for $20 or $30 had $75 or more cleaning fees. It's sort of like what I remember in the early days of eBay, where you could get this awesome thing for like $1, but then there was $100 for shipping and handling. My sister recalled staying with a college friend on their westward journey, and especially because he was a motorcycle enthusiast, she thought maybe he could help out. He was in the Silverthorne area, so it would fit perfectly with my return trip. She made a few calls, it was set up, and I was looking forward to meeting this guy and possibly getting some local insight to some good motorcycle roads. I got a leisurely start to the morning since I pulled ahead in my sightseeing by visiting natural bridges yesterday, and I only had 400 miles today, which at this point doesn't seem like much. With the tip over yesterday, I was wondering if I had lost any oil in the relevant parts, and I realized I hadn't checked the oil as I had planned with my other maintenance routines while visiting San Diego. So I was pretty afraid of what I might find in the crankcase, and then I was also thinking, in this little town, would anything be available? The dipstick was dry, and whether that was from the tip over or running wide open on the freeways in 100-degree heat or just natural loss didn't really matter. The real issue now is, would this Napa in this little town carry motorcycle oil? Browsed up and down the aisles looking for oil. I didn't see any. So I finally asked the guy at the counter where the oil is, and he points to the back wall, which was floor to ceiling oil cans on top of oil cans. I'd been focused on the aisles, I had totally missed it. So I go browsing there and don't see any motorcycle oil, but I've checked 2 or 3 times before I go back to the counter and admit to him that I'd asked the wrong question, and maybe I should have asked, where is the motorcycle oil? Thankfully, I'm somewhat absolved from embarrassment at this point, because he didn't point to that big wall of oil, but he comes around and we go back to a corner and he points to a small spot where there were maybe 3 quarts of oil should be. Only 1 bottle was the right weight, and I picked it up and got lucky there. So I take the whole quart to get back to full, and before getting on the road I looked up a car wash place to spray off the red dirt from the tip over. Do find a place on Google, punch it into the GPS, and when I get there, not a car wash. Not a big deal, I was just looking to get a wash somewhere, maybe down the road. So I get on the road, headed towards Moab, and find another little town for breakfast. As it turns out, this breakfast place I had picked out was right across from a gas station with a used spray set up. Perfect for what I was looking for. I ordered a hearty sausage and egg breakfast, get a few red skin potatoes cut into hash browns and 1 sausage link with 2 eggs. It wasn't the hearty breakfast I was expecting. Thankfully I hadn't eaten the Danish from the day before, so that'll be a welcome snack when I get to Arches. During breakfast I browsed things to do at Arches and noticed a scenic drive, and again the description here was unimproved and rough, but as with before that wasn't much of a concern anymore. But then I stumbled onto Canyonlands National Park. Somehow I hadn't seen that in my pre-ride planning. I'd forgotten about the 460 official miles in the plan. I just kind of rounded that down to about 400 miles. And I was checking distances here on the GPS, and I only saw that Silverthorne is only 300 miles away, so I thought I had plenty of time. So I add Canyonlands National Park to the plan. While eating on the patio outside this little breakfast place, I kept seeing people come by and point near me. And I thought that was a little strange. It didn't seem like they were trying to get my attention or anything, but it took me a long time to understand what they were looking at. They were talking in some language I didn't even recognize and were far enough away that interacting with them wasn't forthcoming. Just as I was finishing breakfast, I noticed that there were hummingbirds all around the patio, and I was totally oblivious, but that must have been what these people were gawking at. A quick wash at the sprayer, and then I was on the road to Moab. Washed the chain really well, so once the few miles down the road, the chain got heated up and dried off. I thought it'd be a good idea to stop on the side of the road, do some chain maintenance. There's pretty cool sights in the background, so it made for an interesting place to do maintenance. I got to the entrance of Arches National Park and I did some waiting for some other tourists to get out of the front of the sign. Then I drove up on the sidewalk to get the shot. I entered the park right behind a group of motorcycles, and one guy fumbled with his pass or took longer putting his stuff away because the group took off without him, and I was right behind him entering the park. This guy was doing some racer boy body hanging and leaning off the side of the motorcycle, and it felt like I was keeping up with him without much effort, although reviewing the footage here, maybe that wasn't the case. Park were awesome, but a bit crowded with tourists. I found a spot at the Garden of Eden and headed into the shadows to escape the heat, and I figured I'd enjoy my Danish and do some journaling about the previous couple of days. I also checked my distance to Canyonlands, which was only 22 miles, and my distance to lodging for the night, which now was only 200 miles. I had plenty of time. Spent a lot of time in the shadows of the Garden of Eden, just enjoying watching people come up and take pictures, enjoying watching the shadows change, and looking out on the parking lot. For most of the trip I'd elected to do touristy things if it involved a scenic drive so I could stay with the bike, but here I went for a short hike to get a view of Delicate Arch. With the heat, the elevation, and the motorcycle gear, it was quite a hike even though it was only about a half a mile. Now, when I thought I had plenty of time, I knew I needed to get going if I wanted to make the most of it, so I headed on into Canyonlands and skipped the scenic drive at Arches. Getting to Canyonlands would be 22 miles, and I should have realized that I went a lot further than that to get here. I just passed that off as being 30-mile-an-hour roads through the park instead of the 50 or 75-mile-an-hour roads elsewhere, and the GPS was just showing me to the entrance of the Canyonlands, not to the back of the park where the great view was. Those roads being 30 miles an hour through the park were a lot of fun, lots of little curves. And when I got to the back of the park, got to the great view, I realized I was kind of behind schedule. So I got off, snapped a picture, and then got right back on. I can just imagine what I would think if I saw someone else do that, knowing that they must have just invested 45 minutes to get here, only to spend 30 seconds checking out the view. But I was running out of time, had bitten off more than I had expected on this Canyonlands side strip, and those roads back in the park were a lot of fun, so I had fun running them again on the way out. The fun sightseeing was over and I headed to the slab. At a gas station I filled up the tank, put on the suit because it looked threatening ahead, and then I punched in the destination to the GPS to give me an official route. I saw it say 250 miles in about 4 hours. I was really confused because 50 miles ago it showed me only 200 miles. Then it hit me. That was point to point. I wasn't checking the route at that time, so I had a lot more road ahead of me than expected, and a lot more weather than ever experienced before also. The rain came slow at first, then hard and heavy. There was enough standing water on the road to create a wake up to my shins, but the suit and the boots did their job, and the tires did a heck of a job splitting through the water and keeping me grounded. At one point the rain was so heavy it started to hurt. I caught something right on the tip of my thumb, and even with the gloves on, it hurt like hell. I looked down to see hailstones the size of quarters on my tank bag. Very new experience to me. Shortly after that there was a nasty crosswind, and this got really uncomfortable. I slowed down and was able to lean into the wind to keep it going straight, but constantly adjusting that because the wind would let up a little bit and then I'd find myself drifting and then I'd let up, and it was hairy. Finally, I was through the storm, and recognizing that this part of the highway that was that really awesome part I had been on those days before heading the other way. After the rain and the late hour and the extra mile, with the elevation cooling things off considerably, this part wasn't so awesome. I was tired, cold, and worn out. Near a gas station stop, this image sort of brightened my spirits, but I still had a long way to go. To make things even a bit more concerning, I hadn't factored the time change into my planning, so I rolled into Silverthorne ragged and late. I got set up and headed out with a dinner suggestion to the Dillon Dam Brewery. I walked in straight to the bar and got the last call for food. Now, it seems like experiences always have an effect on your appetite, and this warm, juicy burger was really amazing after that difficult experience on the road. Back to the place for the night, I talked with my host Trip about the route plan for the next day. He suggested a different back roads route. I gladly took his local advice. I plugged his route into the GPS, settled in, and got to sleep quickly. I woke up several times short of breath. It's very strange to be short of breath from just lying around, but I suppose that's what you expect at 9,000 feet. But tomorrow I've got Rocky Mountain National Park planned. Stay tuned.